time to work on the Prelude. I'm gonna get the transmission on today. We're gonna try and find all of the mounts that we need. We're just gonna put the innovative mounts in it for testing. I want to see this thing in this car. That way we can get piping made and get the intercooler ordered and start getting this thing closer to running. Although once it starts, we're gonna paint the engine bay. So everything's gonna come back out as soon as it starts. Now that it's off the stand that it's been on for way too long, we're gonna put the Luke flywheel on. We got some ARP bolts, flywheel and pressure plate bolts. And then we have this Clutch Masters, I think it's a stage 4 clutch. We talked with them, and for everything this guy's planning on doing with his car, power-wise and tire-wise, this is the clutch that they recommended. It's either a 3.5 or a stage 4, but I'm going off of their recommendation because they know more about clutches than I do. We got the brace off from the engine stand. I've got the flywheel bolts ready. We're going to clean the flywheel up with some brake clean. If you are one of those people that actually reads instructions, you'll know that they tell you to put 242 Loctite on the threads, and this fastener assembly lubricant is actually for the base of the bolt, of the head of the bolt that meets the flywheel. I'm guessing to just help it slide. That way you can get the proper amount of torque, which they have listed here as 95 foot-pounds. Let me get these all set up to be put on. We'll get the flywheel on. Next is going to be the clutch. I'll show you how to get this to line up nicely. That way when you do stab the transmission, you're not going to be fighting it or fighting any of the splines when you put them in. Before I go any further, I'm going to show you at least how I do clutches. I know this alignment tool, a lot of people think just works and it aligns it, but there's been many times here people renting, or even way back when, where we use this and the transmission still fights us. We take it back off and reset the clutch. So what I do, when it's in there, you can see it, it looks like, okay, it's lined up, blah, 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 but it'll move up and down, right? Granted, it's a little bit, but any tiny amount will keep you from getting the transmission to completely slide in nicely with the pilot bearing back in there. Which this one, I don't know if you guys saw, but the flywheel actually comes with a brass pilot bearing in it. It's not a replaceable one, so it's just part of the flywheel in there. I've even seen some cars where they just plain don't have a pilot bearing. The input shaft just kind of sits there. So with this sitting here, what we do is we'll get the new pressure plate. I've already got the bolts all set up with the ARP stuff. These ones are M8s, so they're going to be 25 foot-pounds. It says to use the ARP assembly lube, but I just did what I did on the flywheel bolts, where the ARP assembly lube is up top, and we got blue Loctite on the bottom. Granted, this is going to be over 400 horsepower, so we want to make sure the bolts stay tight. And then we'll put the pressure plate back on. And while we're tightening down the pressure plate, I'm going to double check and see if that's centered. And the other thing too is, once you have the pressure plate on, this should just slide straight in. It shouldn't have to tweak or force or any of that to get it to go in. If it just slides straight in and it, everything's happy, then it's transmission time. We got it about as center as I could, so hopefully it's good enough. Everything's torqued. We got the new throttle bearing. I'm gonna go grab some grease. I knew the clutch fork is somewhere around here. There it is. We got a new clutch fork spring. This is actually the clutch lubricant stuff that we use. It's actually, it's brake parts lubricant, but if you want to get technical, a clutch is a brake. And the other thing too is this purple stuff is the same color and consistency as the stuff that comes in the Excetti clutch kits. So we just buy the tube, and it's good for 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit. We just put it where metal touches metal, and it does help with vibration and noises and all that stuff. And also we put it on the teeth here. Putting it here, I've never had a problem with the clutch, and we've been doing this for like, I don't know, 12 years. We're just gonna slide this all together, and then time to stab the transmission. So we got the transmission on the engine. Probably would have been first stab if it was in neutral, but it was in gear. Which, it's always easier to stab it in neutral, because then the input shaft spins and it'll help itself line up. Now all I'm gonna do is look around. We gotta find the OEM mount that goes here underneath the timing covers, and then I'm gonna pull out the end of crap, and we're gonna try to hang this thing in the car. Hopefully I'll have it in there before lunch. Finally got the bracket that we didn't have, so I know I said that we were going to put the engine in before lunch, but that didn't happen.
And that bracket's for what?
This one is for the driver's side motor mount. So, very important when trying to put an engine in, but couldn't find it in the car, so I had to get a new one, which is why this one looks so nice and not cruddy like all the other stuff we've had to clean up for this car. But hopefully now we can actually get it in the car and sitting with these shitty ass innovative mounts for now. That way we can get stuff made and hopefully get this thing ready to run before we rip it out and paint the engine. So as for the turbo, we're kind of at, I'm confused, but we're at a standstill. This is the turbo kit. I know it's really bad looking at a phone on there. And this is the turbo we have, but whatever turbo is in this kit looks identical. It looks like this is here, or this little piece is here. That's where it needs to be. Like the V-band that holds the hot side on is all there and everything in the picture. But everything is flipped. So like this was upside down so that it comes down here, and this is on the back side, as you can see. Like it's, you know, it's closer to the manifold coming up instead of here. Also with that being different, we have a problem with the downpipe, which this, to go under the oil pan like that, it has a big gap. So we're going to have to see or try to figure out what turbo this is and then figure out where we're at. I want to say this is probably a good place to end this video. The guy who made the turbo kit, it's Sunday. I don't expect him to answer, but I left him a message. I'm waiting for him to call me back. We're going to try to figure out what might have happened with why this kit doesn't seem to work. Or figure out what I'm doing wrong so that we can get the kit to work. Other than that, we threw out some ideas. Sarah was over here, we were talking. I think we're going to try and do maybe a water to air intercooler setup over here. That way we can utilize the space here, and I kind of don't want to, cross the cold pipe with the hot pipe. So since this goes down, it might be best to just have it come over and then back up over the transmission, and we can do like a water to air intercooler here. That'll also give us a little bit better use of the area up here for AC and the radiator and whatnot, just because I'm not sure how much room we're going to have between the turbo and the radiator. Also, we might wrap this because it's not super close to the AC compressor, but the lines, I'm not sure what direction they go coming out of here, all about here. So the less heat that we soak those, the better. And then just gonna get some of this stuff taken care of. Also, when we do the intercooler piping around here, we're gonna have to figure out the lower and upper radiator hoses.